Standing in the middle of a couple dozen cabinets that are heading off to their new home very soon. And the last step, of course, is installation. Today we're going to talk about installation screws, why we use the screw that we do, and what the benefits are over your typical screw. Promotional support for this episode is provided by Quick Screws. Since 1987, Quick Screws has been a leader in both quality and performance. With warehouses in California and South Carolina, Quick Screws can deliver anywhere in the U.S. within 4 days. Quick Screws' highly trained personnel are ready to get you the product you need when you need it. Find out more at quickscrews.com. For anyone following along, this is the first job, or the first big job we've cut on the CNC. So this is it's a pretty large kitchen. We have, like I said, a couple dozen cabinets. It was 20, almost 30 sheets of 3/4 inch UV two-side plywood. So we used Pure Bond and we used pre-fin on two sides. That way, we can get our shelves out of the same material. Our backs are made out of the same material. It really simplifies things to be able to nest the entire job with one type of material. So the CNC, it's drilling all of our holes, hinge holes, shelf pin holes. For our slides, it's drilling holes for the screws. And these are mortise and tenon construction. It's qualified tenon, blind dado qualified tenon, just like in the cabinet we built for John. So it's been great. It flew together. It's been a week that we've been working on this, and it's almost ready. We're even going to be cutting the doors. We won't talk too much about that, but we're doing a 1-inch skinny shaker. This is a test piece that we had to do some tweaks to, but we're getting ready to cut the doors also. So having a lot of fun with the CNC, and it's helping things move along and keeping more of the work in-house. We used to buy our doors out, and now we'll be able to make them. So it's been fun. But today we're talking about installation screws. So these are the screws that we use. These are from Quick Screws. And actually the item number here is 8335. It's a number 10 by 2.5 inch washer head screw. So not your normal like assembly type screw, but it has a washer head. This one's combo drive, so a number 2 square or a Phillips. We have a type 17 tip. And it has this quick cutting here. So this is a great screw for installation. Let's grab what the typical screw looks like and we'll show you the differences. Have our typical install screws that we used to use here. This is just a regular cabinet screw in a 2.5, number 8 by 2.5 inch size. This is what we always used. We would countersink it into the back of the cabinet and screw our cabinets to the studs. But we've since switched over to these, and you could see, you know, the main difference, aside from the diameter, this being a number 10, so it's a little bit larger, is the head. So we don't have a countersink to cut, and we have more of a bearing surface on the screw. So you can run into an issue with these where you actually overdrive the screw. If you're trying to suck a cabinet to the wall and you have this will actually bury itself in the wood. And I've even buried them so deep where they're hard to get out. You'll actually blow out the face veneer on the inside of the cabinet. These, it won't happen because we have this large bearing surface. It's essentially a pan head screw with a washer attached. We have all that bearing surface to really push the cabinet into the wall without burying it under the surface. Also, this could potentially pull out of the back of the cabinet. Really, the situation where that would happen is probably not very common, but the cabinet could actually pull off of the wall. These screws pull through the back of the cabinet. It's not going to happen. But we're going to try that here in a little bit once we're done talking about these screws. We have a shop cabinet here that we'll put some screws in. I'm going to try and rip these out of the back and see what happens. So this is our normal install screw, regular zinc, 2.5 inch by 10, but Quick Screws also makes 2 different colors. So they have sand, which is great for pre-finished material. You can see there. We have some footage of us using this on a job recently. So it looks really good with pre-fin. They also have white, which is good for your melamine cabinets or if you have a white painted interior. And we actually paint these all the time. So we'll take a piece of foam, like a piece of rigid foam insulation. We'll dip all our screws in denatured alcohol first to remove any grease. We'll stick them in there, and we custom paint them whatever color we're using for the job. So if we have an open cabinet that's gray, we paint the screws gray or blue or whatever color. They paint up really nice. You just have to make sure that you clean them so you can get your custom colors that way. I also have some other sizes that I keep in the van. So 10 by 3.5, in case we have a really deep wall. Sometimes you put in your screw and you have, we work in a lot of buildings in Hoboken that were factories that have become apartments, and we're always finding these weird situations in walls where they've been padded out or they have double sheetrock. And 10 by 4-inch, so a really long one. Sometimes we have the thick back on the cabinet too, or long end panels. So these come in very handy. But let's try both of these screws out and we'll show you what the difference is. So I've attached a piece of poplar to the back of this cabinet to simulate a stud. Otherwise, we won't have anything for the threads of the screw to bite into. And I will pre-drill because that's typically how I install. You don't have to pre-drill for either of these screws because they have that Type 17 tip. But what I like to do, especially with upper cabinets, is find out where the studs are. I'll actually measure them out onto the back of the cabinet and I'll pre-drill from the back into the cabinet. Then I can temporarily place my screws in those holes, lift the cabinet up and run them in. So we'll pre-drill just to sort of simulate real life. So first let's do the regular screw. So we won't make the countersink because this has nibs. It'll countersink itself. All right. So we cammed out a little bit, but we're in there and we're flush to the surface. I won't overdrive it yet, but maybe we'll look at that here in a second. So now we'll go with the sand colored install screw. Let me give you a different hole. Hard to see what I'm doing. So now the washer head screw. So that looks nice. I don't know if you heard the difference. When this regular screw seated into the back of the cabinet, it sounded the same the entire way. When that washer head seated, you could hear it in the impact. You could hear the screw stop. Now let's try and overdrive these. So first we'll do the washer head. I'm just gonna lay on it and see what happens, and then we'll try the other screw. So you can see the holding power, how it literally crushed in, but didn't pull through. Obviously, you're never going to want to do that, but you could really lay on it if you wanted to. And that's what happens with a regular screw. So it's gone so deep that my bit is too short, and now I can't even get it out. It hasn't gone quite that far, but let's see. So let's say you're really trying to suck this thing back. Now, when it comes out, we've actually broken the veneer. So because it has this, it's going to be very hot, it has this wedge shape. When it goes underneath and then it has to come back out, these edges actually push out and they'll blow a big hole in the cabinet. It's happened to me a lot of times where I've actually overdriven the screw, and even if you don't get to the point where it's too deep to come out or it's really buried where you can't access it, it just looks bad. If this screw is overdriven, even just like that, it doesn't look very good. Honestly, the washer head being driven an extreme amount like that, to me, looks better than the regular screw. So now we're going to take off this piece of poplar. We'll run 2 fresh screws in, and we'll see if I can rip these screws out of the back. All right, I've driven 2 fresh screws, and got my Knipex pliers here. Let's go back there and see if we can rip these out. So we'll start with the regular screw because I think it's far more likely to get torn out. Let's see if I can get some. So it didn't come out. It definitely, I heard some crunching back there. See, I'm wearing my safety squints. Look at that. A little bit hot. You know, like I said, the odds of this happening are very slim, but you never know. This one, I don't think it's going to pull out. See if I can get a better grip on it. I don't know. I'm putting my whole 165 pounds on it. Oh. Yeah, that's not coming out. I'm curious to see what it looks like on the inside. Did it? Well, it didn't really even deform the back of the cabinet too much. Let's see if I push it forward, can we see? Not too bad. It dug in there. I mean, it certainly did its job. So that's the whole point of these, is to give you all that bearing surface, a lot more strength. You can't overdrive the screw, and they just work better. You know, so once we made the switch to these, we don't really use these anymore. So we keep 2.5 and 3 inch around for, you know, random situations. Sometimes you need to use this type of screw. Let's say we had to put a ledger on the wall and something had to go up against it. Well, we want to be able to sink this beneath the surface. But in a cabinet, what we want is the strength. So being able to match the color, all that strength, we can really suck the cabinets to the wall. It's really great. So yeah, we love these screws. Definitely check them out. If you're using pre-fin like we are, try some of these sand. This is going to become our standard cabinet screw now. It's a nice powder coating. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. We'll put product numbers for these down in the description and a link to quick screws. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next week.